The Triple Trio with Hutchi, Richo and RS Dye. It's Hong Kong racing with the blinkers off.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new edition of the Triple Trio, our weekly look at all things Hong Kong horse racing. I'm in the best seat in the house. Jason Richardson, alongside the best form analyst in Clint Hutchison, and the Hall of Famer in Shane Dye and Hutch. Oh, there's a lot to be excited about, mate. Welcome.
Yep, there certainly is. It's a really good meeting, actually, at Sha Tin on the weekend, and we are building, of course, towards the international meeting, which is not that far away, and we've got the trials in a couple of weeks, but a lot of new horses stepping out at Sha Tin on the weekend, and can't wait, really. Some really nice prospects, I think, on offer, and we're going to cover them and hopefully tip a few winners.
And we've got a superstar who's going to join us in the program as well a little later on. RS Dye, always the star of our show. Shane, did you win over the last weekend?
I'm just trying to think. Geez, it seems so that long ago. I think last Sunday I did.
I think the answer is yes, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, well, last Sunday I won. Wednesday night I backed the second horse in the first. I actually didn't have many bets Wednesday night, but he was my main one. He ran second in the first.
Okay, well, your best bet saluted on Sunday, and all the subscribers to Hutchie's Honkers were on fire.
Yeah, no, it was a happy day. Well picked by Shane, smart leader, and he was well supported and lapped up that early speed, and he came away to win quite handsomely in the end, didn't he? So it was a nice result. We had a couple of races where we were a bit unlucky, but Brave Dreams got us off to a good start early in the day as well. He got a nice ride, didn't he? And I thought his odds were pretty decent, actually, given his level of form. So don't know if his winning will end just yet. Had a couple of bad beats, but our best on the Wednesday card, Heroic Master, he was very short, but he won like a shorty should there. Richo, he settled back and came away to win pretty well. It was a nice horse.
Jam-packed show, so we're going to burst out of the gates in a moment. We've got Sweet in Defeat, which is Hutchie's weekly look at horses to follow. Genius and Slaughter's always the highlight of the program. RS Dye certainly gets over the line and goes, bang, that was a great ride, or hey, you need to pick up your game. We're going to add some star power, and it's going to be Jamie Richards, the former New Zealand superstar, now calling Hong Kong home. He's already got one winner, and I'm sure a lot more to come. Global racing and a lot of winners. But first, come on, let's burst out of the gate. Well, we burst out of the gates, and Hutch, we start with the Sasa Ladies Purse, and Money Muncher is no longer. He's a money catcher.
Money catcher, yes, he did get the win on the board, so he leaves the file, and he deserves it. It was a good, tough win, actually, but I really liked D'Souza here. He jumped well, and Carrying Star didn't, so he's happy to take the lead. He rated the horse as he want. He made the weight count late in the race. He's just strong in the finish as well. I thought the favourite had every possible, and he's just not the finished product. But yeah, D'Souza, I thought he was really good there, Shane. He's riding really, really well. I mean, he's booting home 3 and 4 winners a meeting. He deserves them. He's putting him in a spot, and he's strong in the finish. I think he's really going to have a terrific season if he can stay not suspended.
Yeah, that's the problem. He rated him really well, as you said. I think he ran a 23.75, a 23.17, and a 23.19, if I remember correctly. Rich, I can always remember numbers, but I can't remember names. I'm hoping since my accident. But figures I can remember. So I think he ran that, if I'm right. And that's rating a horse really well. So, yeah, he's riding well. He rode 4 winners and then 2. He's got to stay out of trouble, and that's his problem, but that'll come in time.
So 6 wins in 2 meetings. He now goes to 13, third in the premiership. And Shane, we had a great chat to Sylvester D'Souza. I loved his attitude, but he seems to really in a groove now.
Yeah, he's going good. But he did well here last time he was here too, so it's no surprise.
He is a talent, Hutch.
He's a real talent. He rides light, but he's strong in the finish. He's going to have a great season, I think. I think he might run second to Zach if he can, like I said, stay out of the suspension category. I mean, Bedell's having a good year. Of course, we've still got Karras on the sidelines, and Joe, well, we presume he'll be back in the new year, but it'll be too much ground for him to make up. But yeah, I mean, from a betting point of view, I'm more than happy. Sylvester is one of those riders who gives them their chance. And as Shane mentioned, he's got that experience from Hong Kong, but he's capitalising now. He gets a chance, he's taking it, and that's what you want.
Would you make a beauty verse on debut?
Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? With a horse that can go up there, of course, formerly known as Jungle Magnate. Good ride from Zach following a disastrous one for him in the couple of races before. We'll touch on that later. But look, I don't think it didn't look like his intention necessary to lead on this horse. I mapped him back, but he went forward. You could probably, I thought Keefe or Sight Spirit, one of those should have taken it up. This is the flip side. We said Sylvester was good, but in that race there, the lead was up for grabs. There wasn't much speed in the race, and either one of those two, if they go forward and control the speed, it puts Zach wide, and he might not go forward. So I thought he was actually very good, Zach, in that particular race. Nice performance from the winner. It's not easy to go there and win, and just from a Derby perspective,
is he a legitimate?
He's a legitimate chance for sure. I mean, they usually run well, the horses that go there
and win the
Derby. Usually, you see something fresh up, and this is just going back to 2012. What they've managed to do, including Akid McPhee, that was an eye catcher when he won Designs on Rome, etc. So, a number of them will run well. He certainly has. Race rated okay. He's not, and what I loved about the win, Shane, was he went forward, and in Australia, he used to get back a lot, Jungle Magnate, and sort of be flashing late. But since Tony's got him, and if he can put that in his arsenal all of a sudden, putting himself in the race, it's a real big tick.
Well, if anyone can, it's Tony, because he loves them going forward. Once he found the lead, he was always going to be hard to beat. Galaxy Witness didn't run the mile there, Clint. He doesn't run a mile. He can win over a mile with the right run, but he doesn't run it. There's no risk about that.
I agree with you. But what did you think about Keefe and Sight Spirit? Do you think they should have been a bit more positive earlier? It looked like they jump out and they were either one of them wanted to take a sit, and it sort of gave away their advantage.
Keefe didn't have an option because he jumped out and he handed it up. And once he handed it up, it was all over. But there was no pace before the race in the race. And I actually had Keefe leading. But once he crossed him, that was it. He couldn't do anything. Was it a mistake at the time? I don't think so. But after the race, it probably was. It's one of those decisions you make, but I'm not blaming D'Souza for the wrong thing. It's easy hindsight after the race. He sat third fence, he come out to win, but just with the big weight, he took a little bit of time to quicken, but he still ran well.
So Beautyverse, known as Jungle Magnate in Australia, you have a look at those Hong Kong Derby winners that we just showed that graphic before. I mean, I think about, say, Werther. Mm-hmm. Jungle Magnate wasn't as good as Werther in Australia.
No,
do you think he'll be up to that sort of? Heart of hearts, he can be a legitimate Hong Kong Derby horse?
Well, he started the trip, which is a big part of the battle. He's going to get the journey.
It's whether he's classy enough.
Whether or not he's classy enough, well, time will tell. But he'll run in the top 5 or 6, I think. And, we'll have a lot of them come out. I haven't gone right across some of the other horses that'll be coming in from overseas.
A lot to play out.
There's a lot to play out. But he's run well. He's done as much as he can at this point, and he's won over a mile, and he's definitely better over further. We know that.
The records continue, Shane, for Zach Purton, a superstar jockey. How long he's going to stay in Hong Kong, we don't know. But at the moment, he's riding beautifully. He's well in front in the premiership, and he tied Douglas White with Happy Valley wins, number 572. What an achievement.
It's unbelievable, when he went there, he struggled, as I keep saying, in Hong Kong. He turned it round. He's a true professional and he's riding really well. He makes the odd mistake. They all do, but he's just too good for them at present.
And what about the test for a jockey at Happy Valley as opposed to Sha Tin? Is it a real test of skill?
Yes. See, Douglas White's the best jockey I've ever seen at Happy Valley. He was sensational, but he was nowhere near as good as at Sha Tin. He was very, very one-dimensional at Sha Tin, he was, but at Happy Valley, oh my God, he's the best I've ever seen by a long way. There was 2 of Douglas, even though he was champion jockey for 13 years. Zach's very good at both places. He goes with the flow, and he's the jockey that tactics, I think, are the best, and he adapts to. Is the best in Hong Kong.
Just on that though, what made Douglas so good at Happy Valley? Was it cutting the corner, what you've spoken about so much, or judging the pace? What made it so special?
Cut the corner always, never come off the fence. He found the fence from gate 12, gate 11. Didn't matter where he was, and he'd find the fence and stay on it. And he'd come out half a horse just before the turn to give that horse a little bit of leeway to get around the bend, and then he'd come straight back in so it wouldn't get off the wrong leg and it would kick. It would just grow it would pick up a length on the turn. He was outstanding, Douglas. He's the best. If any new jocks are riding there, they should go and watch the old tapes of Douglas riding at Happy Valley. Don't watch him at Sha Tin, though.
Shane Dye was pretty good at the Valley too.
Was he?
Yeah, he was very good, Shane.
Do you used to like backing him in Happy Valley?
Yeah, he rode quite a few winners for my dad at Happy Valley, and no, Shane was very good. Well, he rode how he calls it now is how he used to ride it there. So he was excellent. He was very good at both, but he was excellent at Happy Valley. I like
Shane. Did I just see a bit of Gary Stevens there after last week with his pop, pop, pop?
I've been practicing. Getting stronger. I don't know when I'm ever going to use it again because I've got no intentions of ever riding horses, but I might get stronger.
Please don't. Oh, that was so good.
He was great last week, wasn't he, Richo?
Oh, yes. He was an absolute highlight. It's one of those interviews that when you finish, you sit and reflect more and more on his insight was sensational. And so were you just then with the assessment of Happy Valley. All right, let's find a couple of runners to put into the file. Sweet and defeat.
6th generation, Miraculous Honour, Super Sunny Sing and Regent Glory all in a line. He's going to dig into an empty hole here because Super Sunny Sing has grabbed him, but Super Sunny Sing.
Into the famous Sweet and Defeat file, Hutch, who's in?
Yeah, there were a couple of eye catches from the week that has gone, and we'll kick off with a horse that we played on the day in Ching. He was just unlucky, couldn't get the run at the right time, unfortunately. Now, Beauty Eternal started odds on, and it was a horror watch for backers of Beauty Eternal. He started a short price, and he will win it next time goes around, that is for sure, but he'll be winning with even luck. And I thought Rattan Kingdom, no real fault, unfortunately, with the week off. He drew a bad barrier the following week for Jamie Richards, and he was very good, I thought, during the week in a race where D'Souza controlled it from the front. But this is Ching, unfortunately, from a wide gate that went back, got into a nice spot, but
identify the colours.
He's in the purple. Ching is in the purple and pink. He's about fifth last in between runners and the chestnut horse. And unfortunately, I think Luke would have probably been thinking a couple will drop off and he'll be able to get to the outside. And D'Souza just held his line here, and there just wasn't a run for him. But Shane, I thought the fact that he could get out with 150 to go and get as close as he did was testament to what a good performance it was. And if he gets out, he would have won easy.
Oh, he wins for sure. His trial was sensational, as I think I may have stated. And I actually backed him in this. Look, I don't blame him. He tried to get out. He actually gave him a very good ride early. He got him into a lovely posse, but they just didn't open up. What you got to remember on the C+3, they don't open up as much. Now, this is Zach here. Look, he's pushing him from gate 6 or whatever it is. He's in beauty colours. You can see him. He's done nothing wrong on this horse. He's got him. This horse wants 1,400 a mile now. Gets back. He's got the two main chances in front of him and outside of him in Smart Patch and Good Buddy. Now, he's thinking, where am I going here? He'll be thinking, do I go out? Do I come in? He's in a pocket and he can't do anything, but he's realising that. Just up here, you'll see the orange colours in front of him come off the fence a bit, and he's thinking, I'm going to get up on fence here, turning for home. You can see there he's come off the orange. Yep. So he goes to go up, but he just lays out and clips his heels, right? But at that same time, he didn't come out any further, the orange colours, he stayed there. I don't blame Zach for that. He didn't do anything wrong. And now there's no run in front of him, but as soon as he decides to come out, it opens up in front of him. If he had stayed there, they open up, he dashes through and wins, but you can't, and there's nowhere to go. He should have won easy, Clint, there's no doubt about it, but I don't blame Zach for that.
That's a horror watch.
You've been quite nice these days, Shane. I mean, I thought that with Zach, the one game plan should have been from the start not to get locked away on the fence. How's this horse going to get beaten in that race? But on the back of sitting 4 wide, no cover.
But if we look at the vision, where does he make an error?
Well, he was one off. He went back down to the fence because Good Buddy put him there. But it's got to be a mindset, I think, before the race that I don't want to get locked away. So he did get locked away. Matthew Chadwick probably should have gone earlier than he did, and maybe Zach then could get the run, and it might have cost Matthew the race as well. So, yeah, and I don't think there was ever a run on the inside. He might have shifted half a horse, Ruamaya, but the stewards didn't think he did, and I thought that he probably still, I don't know. I didn't think it was the best execution. I thought he probably should have been a little bit mindful pre-race that the way this horse will get beat is if I get locked up, and it's exactly what happened.
Shane, don't be kind to Hutch. What do you think?
He hasn't ridden horses. He doesn't understand. If you want him to teach him to be a good horse, that's how you got to ride him. That horse is a very good horse, and he would have learned that much more from doing that than sitting 4 wide and winning. No good for the punters, but for long term, that's the best thing that could have happened to the horse. Now, turning for home, there was definitely a run on the inside. It was just that he hung out a little bit, his horse. If Zach had hugged the fence, really hugged the fence, he would have got up there, come out and won the race for sure. But he clipped his heels, and that's what cost him the race, you know. He should have won. I'm not denying that, but I'm not blaming Zach for that.
Yeah, I don't think there was ever a run there. I looked at that. He might have shifted half a horse, but
Don't have another look. There was.
Well, we can put it up now.
Let's have a look.
Put it up now. There was.
You know what? I'll be Judge Jason.
If there was a run there, he would have got through.
Rightio. So we'll see, just right. We'll get to a moment here where we'll just pause just to set this up. So we might even just pause now. So the horse that we are referring to, see the orange.
Zach's come back a little bit there to say, right, can I come out?
So we're talking about the horse in orange in fifth position. It's the horse directly behind in the beauty colours, the chestnut horse.
But he can't come out because he's got these two outside of him behind him, and he'll check that horse. But he's given himself room to go where he wants to. Now here he's looking, where am I going? So he comes to the inside. Now you have a look here. He clips that horse. He's off the fence. If he don't clip that horse's heels, he's up in that run for sure. Go back and have another horse. Look, there's a run.
Yeah, I think there was room, Hutch. I think there's room.
Do you think there was room?
I think there's room.
Of course there's room.
But just roll back. I don't think there was room.
When there is room, he unfortunately...
Look at his head. Look, he runs out. Look there, see, he lays out.
His clipped heels there was never a run inside him there. There's no way there was ever a run inside him. That's why he clipped heels, because there wasn't a run inside him.
No. Go back. Go back.
This is interesting.
Diet for teachers. Right? He's laying out. The Zach's horse lays out a little bit. You watch his head there. He's out. There's a run there for sure inside of him. If he doesn't lay out and clip his heels, he's up there straight away. Of course there's a run.
There's a run later on. There wasn't when he clipped heels. We'll agree to disagree.
Okay, ding, 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 ding. Judge Jason says it's a 0-0 draw.
That's why punters don't understand videos and form of horses.
Oh, there's some beauty, sweet in defeat. They're all written in the file.
I bagged you last week in that dirt, but I'm not bagging you over that, mate.
All right, well, you get your moment now to shine. RS Dye, Genius or Slaughter?
They sweep for home now. Beander Cross has come very wide. Beander Cross answering the urgings of Shane Dye. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it.
Daring tactics by Shane Dye. He's got Octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Shane Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
A segment you all love. We've sort of had a little preamble to it just previously. We're now moving to Genius or Slaughter. RS Dye, the Hall of Fame jockey, has an opportunity to cast his eye over all the rides in Hong Kong during the week. Shane, who caught your eye from a positive? Who was the genius?
I thought this was a really good ride from Luke Ferraris. He drew gate 12, but he committed. This horse here you can't hold up. He's limited. He runs about 950 metres normally, but you've got to let him run. And he just decided he was going to lead. Now, the track was off on Wednesday night big time. It was definitely a leader's track. And he just committed, and he just ran them off their legs. And it was a really good, intelligent ride. The horse is limited, but if he takes a sit 3 deep, he can't win. And he run them off their legs, simple as that. And that's the best way to ride that horse. Yeah. He'll probably stop 9 times out of 10, but he kept running because of the track.
Yeah. I agree with what Shane said. He's a bit like that Hero Star that I pointed out a few weeks ago. I think he's the similar kind of horse. You got to bust him up mid-race. You got to hope you can pinch a break and hang on for dear life, and that's what he did, Shane. So I agree with you. I think some of them want to hold them up and rate them, but he's the kind of horse you're going to let go.
You know, Peter Moody's been famous in Australia for saying, let fast horses be fast. And that was a perfect example. Just break them up early, and Shane put them all in a bit of oxygen debt halfway through the race.
Yeah, he did. Luke's going all right. He's ridden, 9-10 winners for the season. He's only 20. He makes mistakes, but they all do. And you give Luke another 2 or 3 years and see how he is in Hong Kong. He's strong. He's balanced. 9
winners, 2 seconds, and 10 thirds. So if you can convert a few of those.
And he hasn't had many rides.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Do you continue on with the Genius, or you found a Slaughter?
I found a Slaughter, but, it was pretty noticeable. I saw the stewards have him in. This was Trader. And, look, I know he's a kid, but you can't – there was 2 leaders in this race, and they could have dominated and gone slow. and just controlled the race. Now, Trader, what you got to realise, isn't a 1,400 metre horse, and I don't think he'll ever run 1,400. He might if he gets a very soft lead, but it was never going to happen this day. He hasn't done much wrong there, but they're going too fast. I think they run a 21.5 or something like that, if I remember correctly. And
so what, he should have dropped back
he
here?
should have come back more, and the leader wouldn't have gone as fast because the leader's fired up. Now, here he's putting the pressure on him. He should have been further back. You should be about a length behind when they're going. He did run 21.5. He should be further back, but he attacks him at the 600, and you don't need to. You're controlling the race. Just, you got to know that your horse isn't going to run 1,400. He's first up over 1,400, so you can't be going so far from home. It was the best position to be in to control the race, but he just attacked. And, of course, he was wanting late. But going out there, I thought he might lead and Derek would hand up on All Riches. But as soon as he didn't, you should have come back and given him every chance. That's my opinion.
Okay, so for a young rider, your advice would be to suss. I mean, would he know with limited experience that they went 21.5? You know, as a jockey, it's different for you. You had the experience in your career, but when you're a young jockey, can you sense that?
Do you know my favourite trick at restaurants, Richo? And I used to make money. I used to bet people different. We'd get talking and I'd say, okay, I bet you $100 I can get within 1 second of a minute. I'll tell you when a minute's up, or 30 seconds. They used to bet me. I just used to collect 100 every time. You learn time, a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. And I used to count when I was young, very young, on a stopwatch. So I knew exactly 15 seconds to the furlong, and you go in 15 seconds. And then you start to get the feel of a horse, right? How fast they're going. And yes, you can tell, and he should know, and he should learn. And he should learn by closing his eyes and with a stopwatch, press it. And then after a minute, count to a minute, and then stop it when you think a minute is up. And then you have a look and you see how far out you are either way. And that's how you learn time.
He's got a clock in his head, RS Dye.
He said the good jockeys do.
There's a lot of things in that head of his too.
But I think that is a really important tool that we when we talk about jockeys in terms of the really top line ones do have that clock in their head, don't they? They know how to rate them. They know when they're going a bit quick, and then they act upon it. I think that's the way they go to the next level, is the ones that actually act on it due to what's transpiring in the race. So, yeah, no, very much so.
Felix Coetzee was always a good rider, Clint, in Hong Kong. He used to lead on Tony's, but he always rated them evenly. Didn't go too slow, didn't go too fast. He was a very good front-riding jockey, you know. But I see them at Happy Valley. They're going along down the back and they're going at a nice pace, and horses take off from last. They've got no hope because they're going too fast. You can only do that when they're slowed up down the back and it's the right tempo.
Hey, just a question without notice. In fact, every question I ask Shane is without notice. New Zealand, for such a small country, how does it produce so many brilliant horsemen? I think of you. I think of James McDonald. I think of Jimmy Cassidy, Grant Cooksley, Lance O'Sullivan. The list goes on. Why?
It's easy. It's the system. Australia's system doesn't produce great apprentices anymore. The last good apprentice in Australia was probably Darren Beedman and Darren Gauci, superstar I'm talking about, and that was back in 82. Damien Oliver was a very good apprentice, but he wasn't a superstar. He was a superstar jockey afterwards. Huey Bowman was very ordinary as an apprentice, but he ended up a superstar jockey when Darren Beedman retired, and Huey was, 28 or something, you know? Australia does not have a good system to produce superstar apprentices, and they won't the way it is. New Zealand's got a very good system, and that's why we do. But Australia hasn't. You name a superstar apprentice in the last 40 years, 30 years.
I mean, probably Nick Ryan was one that came to mind, but then unfortunately due to weight, he had to retire so quickly.
Okay, what big races did he win?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. No, not superstar, not like Darren Gauci, not like...
Darren Gauci, when I went there, was just on every front page paper. He was on every TV show. Superstars are public's attention. Australia has not produced a superstar since 1982-83. And they had two, Darren Beedman and Darren Gauci. And that's a fact. You can check.
No, that's a fair call. Nothing quite like the Gouch. Love the insights of RS Dye. Hey, we're going to move global now and touch base with everything happening in the world of racing. Well, let's look at the world of racing, global racing, and Hutch, we all sat down and watched the Breeders' Cup, and Flightline was every bit as good as we thought he would be.
How about that early pressure in the race as well?
So good.
They were absolutely humming. I think they ran 45 and changed their first 800 metres. I mean, that's incredible. And the cream rises to the top when that happens, Shane. And look, we know now that he's bowed out and he's going to stud, but in a short space of time, he was a real shooting star, and you just love to see these good horses win like he did again.
1-7 something for the first 1,200 metres. You know, he could possibly be the greatest horse ever to race. What's he had? 6 starts, and he just wins them like that, and he's beating the best horses weekend every run now. You know,
Yeah.
He's just in another class. Horses don't come like that. You know, mind you, I've seen 2. Frank on him.
Yeah, well, when Gary Stevens says this is the best horse I've ever seen race, and that was the one that I would love to have ridden, I think we all sat up and went, wow, that's a big call.
Exactly.
But it's just not him saying that,
Yeah.
Richo. It's everyone saying that. You know, I speak to the likes of Ryan Moore and a lot of people around the world that really do know, and they all say it. You know, so he's the real deal. Shame he's gone to stud, but hopefully we can see. Did you see what he sold for, Richo?
Yeah, something $780 billion. What was it in the end?
I think it was about 250, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's something extraordinary, all the various conversions of whatever currency, wherever you're listening in.
I think it was 250 million US.
Hey, a question that we've got, Shane, that you might be able to give us some insight, a question from our audience. He was a dirt horse.
Yep.
Could he have transferred that brilliance over turf and vice versa, Frankel onto dirt?
That's a very good question. Just through my experience riding in Hong Kong, there's a lot of horses that go better on the dirt than the grass and vice versa. So that's something I cannot answer. The jockey would have a fair indication if he's galloped him on the grass. There's no reason why he wouldn't do that on the grass, but it's something I cannot answer.
I suppose it's a bit like they'd run well on the turf or vice versa, but it's grass court and clay court.
Yeah, it's a bit like
that type of thing, isn't it? So you can be a Nadal at the French Open, but doesn't mean you're going to dominate Wimbledon in the same way.
Yeah, it is fascinating, that comparison, isn't it? Hey, talking about great rides, and Shane, you've touched on some brilliant rides already on the show. What did you make of the race at St. Cloud with Michael Barcelona, where he was brilliant? So we pick up the action here, and Michael Barcelona makes a decision to say, you know what? Out wide is the best place to go. So I'm going to check. I'm going to put the indicator on, and I'm going to head out there. And an outsider went, I'm going to jump on your back and see how we go. Take it over.
Okay, I always explain this like on the beach. And you got 2 people running down, one on the soft part and one on the by the water on its hard. You can't get your grip and get going now on the soft, but down by the water you'll fly, right?
Yeah.
Same here. This is what happens when you get onto the better part of the track. You saw how much ground he made up, and then he saved around the bend, and he really must have done his homework on this track to stay in here. So he must have thought that in the straight it was okay, but down the side there it was so much faster out wide, and it was hard. Now these boys all go out in the straight, right? And he stays in. This is a fantastic ride. It's someone who knows the track, understands the bias of the track. I did it once on Cronus, if you remember, Richo, in the Adelaide Cup.
Yeah,
and I drew gate 12, and, you know, they start there at the far top over at the half mile. And I went around the first bend about 15 wide, and every other horse was on the fence. But I actually went in a straight line because the track was so much better out there than on the fence. And I looked around and everyone's on the fence, and I'm thinking, what are you doing there? The track's no good. And we've started in a straight run. So once I got into the straight, then I switched back to be outside the leader. And then later in the race, I pulled right out and he won. But you got to know the tracks, and that's a fantastic ride.
Won't see a better ride than that. And what I got a little chuckle out of as well was all the other jockeys did know what to do at various times. Couldn't have got it more wrong. They all did the opposite to what he did.
Except for the guy that followed him. He lobbed into third, that guy.
And like Shane said, he obviously did his homework and executed it beautifully. You'll go a long way to see a better ride than that, because it's different stages on that course. He's taken a different path. And the rest of the field, they've just followed whoever was in front. That final shot of the straight where they're all some were in the middle, some were out wide. They had no idea. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, that was absolutely brilliant. I think as punters, one thing that we love about a jockey is a jockey that shows initiative, Shane. It shows initiative.
You can do that at Warwick Farm down the side in the 1,400 and 1,200 metre races when it's heavy. If you're drawn wide, you just want to go straight to the outside fence on a wet track, because it's actually where before a lot of ambulances had been, so the track is actually harder there. And you get through the ground so much easier at Warwick Farm in Sydney on the outside fence than you do if you're in.
Alpinista, a superstar of world racing, has been retired. Was expected to head to a Japan Cup, but disappointing news that has been retired. Things just slightly going amiss. The Whirlpool moment of the year when it won the Yorkshire Oaks.
Yeah, great moment. It's a great meeting, the Yorkshire meeting, isn't it? It's a fantastic track, big track. And that is a shame that she's been retired. She was an absolute beauty. I saw the recent rankings, global rankings as well. She wasn't in them, which was a little bit of a surprise. But
gee, what more do you need to do?
You know, at the pointy end, that is. Oh, yeah. Well, we've discussed that in the past in terms of what transpires there. But no, she was a beauty.
Won't be going to the Japan Cup, so we've loved all the World Pool meetings, and there's still commingled pool coming up for those in Hong Kong. Let's add a little bit of star power to this show with a champion trainer from New Zealand, now calling Hong Kong home, and Jamie Richo. Well, we had some star power with a superstar trainer from New Zealand who achieved so much in Australia and in New Zealand with so many Group 1 victories, and then said, I want to conquer the next frontier, and the next frontier is Hong Kong. So Jamie Richards joins us. Jamie, always a pleasure to chat, mate. How have you settled in, and welcome to the Hong Kong racing scene?
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. It's good to be on the show, something that watching every week just to see what's happening around the place, who RS Dye is cutting in half and who he's praising. But yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, it's all going well, getting settled in. Obviously, I think it came up in about May, and the season started in sort of September. We haven't had a lot of runners just yet, but we've got a few waiting in the wings, and hopefully as we lead into Christmas, we can start to fire a few shots.
Mate, must have been a big leap of faith, because you had a wonderful career going in New Zealand. You were bringing a lot of horses, superstars over to Australia, winning Group 1s. Why Hong Kong for you?
A couple of reasons, I guess. It's a good challenge. We were pretty big fish in a small pond there in New Zealand, and had the backing of Tiako, and obviously had a lot of quality horses in the stable. But Hong Kong was a good adventure for Danielle and I. We're still reasonably young. We don't have any dependents or anything yet, so we thought it was a good opportunity to make a start up here. And I can't thank the club and the licensing committee for the opportunity to be here. So and I guess the other thing is, prize money is incredibly high and tax rate's pretty low. So, we're looking forward to seeing how it all works.
Yeah, to making that work, Jamie. Look, you mentioned that you haven't had many runners so far, and you can see that. But I'm just going through your stable numbers. You must be quite happy with where that sits. You can't be far off a full stable. How many have you got in work at the moment?
Yeah, the stable's full now. So we've got, I think there's about 8 in quarantine at the moment. So there's 52 in the stable here. Just trying to sort of work it all out. We've got a few horses that are down in the lowest part of the rankings, so and the ratings. So hopefully, those horses might be able to step up. Otherwise, they'll have to ship out. But we've got plenty of fresh young horses coming in, and hopefully we might sort of see a few of those run in the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks.
Jamie, have you worked out at Hong Kong at Happy Valley, especially barriers, how important they are yet?
Yeah, we're working that out. So Shane, thanks for pointing that out. We've got Zach on, and we still can't get a winner from out wide. So starting to understand how difficult that is.
And everyone's in the same situation. I have a mate of mine, Casper, who I'm very close with. He goes, they've put me gates 12, 11, every week Happy Valley blows up, and then all of a sudden he gets a run of good gates and they win. And that's what's going to happen to your horses. And it was a shame that meeting was called off 2 weeks ago, because your horses had great gates that week and you probably have 2 winners for sure. Whereas the following week they come back, they've got bad gates and can't win from their gates.
Yes, no, you don't need to remind me of that.
Welcome to Hong Kong.
Next I'll be asking you to sort of go to the temple, Jamie. That's the next thing.
Oh,
where you
is
go
it?
and change the luck and
nice.
go to do the. I see you've done a bison, etc., with the stable at the start of the year, but you might have to revisit that.
Yeah, we've done everything possible. The stable's been blessed, and the feng shui master's been in here. I had the feng shui master at the house yesterday, making sure that all the angles and everything were right. So we're doing everything we possibly can. Plenty of water, in the right place where the money comes from this way. So make sure you leave that nice and open, and sit here when you're having your dinner, so that the money comes towards you. So anyway, we're playing around, seeing how it all goes.
Hey, Jamie, one of the things that I love to do is, and I've never been successful at it, is try to embarrass Shane Dye. Can you remember, as a young man growing up in New Zealand, the first time you heard or saw of Shane Dye? Or maybe you were too young, you didn't even remember him.
I think by the time I was sort of following the racing, he was probably in Australia or in Hong Kong. So I don't have I can't say that I've got a great memory of when Shane was riding.
The best one to ask Richo is Lance O'Sullivan, but he won't give me up because I can embarrass him straight away back. So his mouth will be
Hey, Jamie, of all the stars that you trained in New Zealand, who was the best? Because, I think about Melody Bell. I mean, Ginger Nuts was injured. I think about Extravagant, how good he could have been. Tiako Shout could have been anything. Probabile. Who was the best horse that you trained?
Melody Bell obviously won the most Group 1s, but she did most of those in New Zealand, and take nothing away from her. It's hard to win a Group 1 anywhere in the world, but Probabile did the majority of her racing in Australia and turned up through COVID when I wasn't really able to be there, and a pretty testing time for everybody really when the country shut down, and she was sort of the shining light for us, for Cambridge Stud, for Tiako, for everybody. So she was a wonderful mare, and was racing in Sydney as a 2-year-old right through to winning the I think it's called the Might and Power, that race on your screen there over 2,000 metres at Caulfield. So she was a wonderful mare, and very lucky to be associated with her.
Yeah, you'd love her on your team. She was a real fighter, wasn't she, Jamie? She pinned the ears back and had a real go. It's a real trait in a lot of those tight finishes. I know earlier on she probably lost a few, but in hindsight, she just always gave her all.
Yeah, she was a victim of bad tracks a fair bit in Sydney, and never really was able to produce her best on those. The wheels were spinning. But when she found good ground, her stats would have been terrific. So she's a wonderful mare, and I think she's safely enfolded to Almanzor now, which is exciting for everybody there at Cambridge and for the New Zealand industry. So hopefully she can go on and do the job as a broodmare as well.
Jamie, we see, obviously, to get into Hong Kong to begin with, you've got to be hugely successful from wherever you are around the world. What do you see as the big changes, and what's been the sort of what's been the experience like so far in terms of the difference in training or the styles, and how have you found Hong Kong different compared to, of course, New Zealand?
I think probably the biggest thing about Asia is they don't really do too much galloping in the mornings. If you're sort of breaking 24, 25, you're probably, it's a bit of a rarity. But at the same time, you've also got to get the horses fit. So they probably trial them over a little bit further here. And that's something that's taken a little bit of getting used to. Like in New Zealand and Australia, you might have a quiet half-mile trial, quiet 1,000-metre trial, and then you head off to the races at 1,200, and you're usually pretty right. Whereas here, we've been called out a couple of times already. Tempo of the races. Just as an example, we trialled one this morning called Starfire Gems, a horse we like. Jai McNeil rode him for us. He said that was a really genuinely run trial. So they do go along, and for the new guys, it does take a little bit of getting used to. So yeah, they're probably a couple of the smaller things that we're starting to see now that we've been here a little bit longer.
And were you able to take some New Zealand horses or Australian horses over with you? Tell us how you set up a stable.
Yeah, so there was a couple of horses that came from a stable in New Zealand, but basically started fresh. And I sort of leading up to coming to Hong Kong, I went to Australia, went to the SSL, and just tried to do a bit of networking and going off the sort of viewpoint that if you know 5 or 10 people in New Zealand and Australia, and those guys know 5 or 10 people each in Hong Kong, then you can sort of get around and start to meet a few people. I asked Sir Peter Vella for a hand if he could sort of point me in the right direction, and he rang Shane Dye, and Shane sort of put me in touch with a couple of people as well. So I think it's about networking and then getting out and having a bit of lunch or dinner. You're living in a pretty vibrant city where people like to go out face to face and meet and have a bit of dinner and a few drinks and sort of talk about horses. So you've got to build it up from the ground up. But really thankful for the support that we've had from the local owners. As we sort of spoke about there, the stable's pretty much full now, and although we're probably lacking a bit of quality, there's plenty of quantity, and hopefully there might be a few that sort of jump up out of the woodwork. It's a place here where pedigree is not the be-all and end-all. They're like big, strong horses, and there can be a sort of, some different styles or different types of breeds that do well here. So there's always hope, and, we'll be certainly trying.
Is there one there, Jamie, that you like that hasn't raced, that you purchased overseas that we wouldn't know about, that we could follow?
I think there's even just thinking about the horses that trialled this morning, there's a PPG that came from Melbourne that the Upper Bloodstock boys gave us. He's a horse called Hoss. Now, he's by Fiorente, who you think would be too dour for Hong Kong, but he looks like a horse that's got a bit of natural ability. He wants to sort of jump out and get on with the job. So he's had 4 trials now. He's probably going to kick off for the next 2 or 3 weeks. He'll take a couple of runs to get organised and adjust to the tempo of the racing here in Hong Kong and all of those sorts of things. But he might be one to follow sort of leading into Christmas time.
What can we expect in race 1 with Super Fast Dragon on Saturday?
He's a nice horse. He's had 2 trials since he's been here. He didn't trial before he arrived, so he is going into the race a bit inexperienced. But they don't run these 3-year-old PPG races very often, and looking back at the last race, it was quite soft, and everybody sort of thought the same. So they've jumped out of trees to enter horses into the race, and it's come up a strong race. But he's a horse that will improve with the outing a bit, and another one that will be worth following into the new year.
And Jamie, you've got Chicken Dance running on the day. It's an interesting race. He probably isn't going to be a leading contender in that race, but how have you found his preparation going into this run?
His first up run was quite good. He ran at Happy Valley and probably just struggled with the tempo there a little bit. He should be better back at Sha Tin. He galloped on the grass one morning leading into Happy Valley, and they just went a little bit quick, and I wonder whether that might have just resulted in his run a little bit. So he goes into the race in good shape. If he had drawn a gate, I think he would have been an each-way play, but he's drawn 11, and he's going to need a fair bit of luck from out there. So we'll just see how we get on. But for an old horse, he's in good order at home, and we're happy with him.
There is a philosophy. A happy wife is a happy life. How is your partner Danielle settled in, more importantly to anything else?
She's enjoying it. There's a few sort of expats here with wives, and they sort of team up and go and have a bit of lunch and do a bit of shopping and all those sorts of things. And one person that's not a very good influence is Nicole Purdon, but other than that, it's all going well, and Danielle's enjoying it. She's back in New Zealand at the moment, and I'm heading back on tomorrow night after the races for the Ready to Run sale. But she's looking forward to getting back here in about 10 days' time.
Is she riding track work up there at all?
The plan is for her to ride a bit of track work, Shane, but it's with immigration at the moment, so it's just taking a little bit longer than we would like. But hopefully by the time she gets back, she might be able to start helping out a little bit. But we'll just have to see how it goes.
That's fantastic.
I can imagine. Can you imagine Jamie, who's trying to get this through immigration? Because the downside is the longer that she doesn't work is the more time she hangs out with Nicole Purdon and goes shopping.
Cha-ching.
Mate, come on.
No good. No good. One hasn't trained any winners and the other one's the champion jockey. So, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Not the right mix.
Oh, that is fantastic. Mate, when you started this season, what are the goals? What are you trying to achieve in your very first season?
I sort of said I'd like to try and improve a few of the transfers and get to sort of 20 or 30 wins if I could. But, look, it's hard, boys. It's really hard. Things have been going okay, but we haven't had a lot of luck. We've been sort of, drawn bad gates and things haven't gone our way. So hopefully in the next couple of months, things can sort of turn the corner a bit. And as the fresh horses get a bit fitter and get used to the surfaces here in Hong Kong and everything like that, then we might be able to start firing a few shots. But we have been a little bit slow out of the box.
Well, mate, we're having a little glitch in the system. While we've still got you, a huge thank you for joining us in the show. We're all barracking for you if that helps you at all, mate. 4 runners on Saturday. Good luck. Great to chat to you and look forward to seeing you soon. Well, Saturday for Hong Kong racing this week. Hutch, I won't lie to you. I get very busy on a Saturday. I love Sunday racing, but doesn't matter. We've got 10 to bet into.
I know, because we sort of get lost here overseas, don't we? I do prefer the Sundays. I must admit, I'm not sure if Shane sees it the same way, but I do like kicking back on a Sunday where we've got a bit of clean time. But we've got a good race to cover all the same, and usually a pretty talented race 7, the Panasonic Cup. I thought this was a really interesting race, and I've actually got Circuit Stella, who comes out of Class 3. He's marked favourite with me, and it's with the weight that he carries, which we'll touch on in a moment. Healthy Happy ran second to California Spangle. He'll be well in the market, 520, but he's got top weight. And then we've got the Golden Scenery. Beluga will be in the market with Zach and Gate 1. And, of course, the Golden Scenery. But the Circuit Stella, this is him winning last start. He went forward. He was well rated in the lead. But this race actually took part on the same day as a couple of the others competed the last time they went around. The Golden Scenery comes out of that race with the Irishman, which was the last race of the day. But this event actually, on my figures, came back pretty well. And I like the fact that he gets into this race with a lightweight. I think he and Healthy Happy will control the speed. But he carries 107 pounds, Circuit Stella. He's supposed to carry 105 with a 10-pound claim of Angus Chung. So I wanted to do a little bit of homework, and we have to thank Sahil at Race Quant, who he's a statistician and obviously follows Hong Kong racing closely, and give him a follow if you get an opportunity, because does a lot of good work in terms of the stats with Hong Kong. But thanks to Sahil, he's given us some information on horses that have carried 107 pounds, which is 47.5 kilos.
Gosh.
Richo. So in the last, since 2015-16, there's actually been over 100 to be exact. There's been of the horses that have carried 107 pounds, 102, and they're striking at 11.8% with a profit on turnover of 119%. So look, horses that can get down and carry that lighter weight do have a good record, and particularly with that weight carried. So, you like to see how they measure up, because it obviously doesn't happen every week, but in the last 6 years it's happened that many times. That figure might be a little bit skewed with one result at 100 to 1. But still, it's a profitable exercise. And I think in this race, Shane, Circuit Stella looks like he'll get to the front. In terms of quality, a few might be, fearing that he's not up to them, but with that weight, I think he might be.
He's got a very good chance. Won well the other day. The interesting thing about Healthy Happy, he's never performed second up, and he's second up here. And horses are creatures of habit, so I'm worried about that. The flip side of that is Bulgara, which is Zach's ride. Second up is always his best run. He goes really well second up. He's got Gate 1. He's going to get a good run. I think the Golden Scenery gets his chance. He'll sit off them. And with a small field, that's going to help him. And he's been hitting the line. And I think he's got a great chance, the Golden Scenery. But I've definitely got the bottom 2 in the top 3 also, Circuit Stella and Bulgari.
I think with Circuit Stella, what's interesting as well with Zach, he went for Beluga, one would imagine, over Fantastic Treasure. I don't have much between them. I think it would have been a pretty tricky call. Maybe it was the weight, maybe it was a second up factor that Shane's mentioned. And when Zach has ridden Beluga, he's ridden him 12 times for 4 wins. So it is a good lead for punters. He usually gets on him about the right time. But I don't think there'll be much in it. I think they both get a similar run, and I'd imagine on the day, I'm hoping to be able to back Circuit Stella, and I'm thinking I'll be able to back Fantastic Treasure as well, because as we often see when Zach jumps off one, they usually go out a little bit bigger than what they should.
Because there's a bit of Zach tax going on there.
So that's what happens there.
Healthy, happy. He's trialled well since last time too, Clint. His trial was very good. Look, he wouldn't be a surprise if he ran well, but his record states over 3 or 4 seasons now, second up, he doesn't perform.
Yeah, no, it's a fair call, Shane. And what I did like, though, because I wasn't a fan of his all last season, Healthy Happy, but he surprised me how well he boxed on behind California Spangle last time, and it was a good rating race. And even with the weight, he'll run well. He's in good form, and I think
you're correct, Clint. He's come back better this season than last season, definitely.
And just taking your point, Shane, in regards to second up, trend is your friend. Is one of your mottos, Hutch.
No.
And we see that with horses who have a pattern that they run really well fresh, and then maybe, Shane, they're just a little flat second up.
Happens a lot.
We move to race number 8, and Jai McNeil rides Yes We Can. So the Melbourne Cup winning jockey now calling Hong Kong home for a short time.
Yeah, it's a nice pickup ride for Jai, and the fact that he can ride light's great for him to get an opportunity to ride a horse like this, because, of course, Zach Purton's been on his last 2, and he wouldn't want to get down to the 116, and he couldn't get down to the 116, but Jai, he gets a great opportunity here. I mean, I think it's a competitive race. We've got Viva Hunter, who comes out of a really good event won by Charging Prince, and there was a pattern that day, but Viva Hunter was sensationally backed late, and he ran very well in that event. And Yes We Can, this is a great ride from Zach. We talked about the bias on the night. The fence was red hot. Zach stayed on it as long as he could. He got off late. But this horse has got a good chance, I think. Again, Shane, I mean, he's got a light weight. He's up in grade. The class rise is not going to stop him. It's more so just him finding the right, path in the race, and he can go on and nearly win again.
I think he's got a great chance. He's going higher. The worry in the race is the pace. You got True Legend who'll lead from gate 3, and you've got Viva Hunter from gate 9 who'll probably come across. But you've got a couple out wide that might push on, like Loyal Baby could. Sometimes Bear Slam can. So it all depends how fast they go. But if they go too slow, it won't suit them. But the only thing is when they go slow and you've got 116, you're still a chance to pick them up. I've got them on top. Yes, we can. I think it'll be very hard to beat, Clint.
So Hutch and also RS think that race number 8, horse 12 in Yes We Can for Jai McNeil can make an input. We go to the next race, Hutch.
Yeah, we'll go to the next event, and it's not a bad one over 1,200 metres either. Here's the lineup for you. It's an interesting race with a horse by the name of Lucky 8, who He burst onto the scene with a very good win on his debut. Actually, he beat Chicken Dance that day, which is one of the horses we spoke to Jamie Richards about. But he's got a good opportunity in this event, I think, Lucky 8. We've got Bundle of Charm, who's been costly for punters. He's been a favourite at his last 4, and he had every possible, I thought, the other day behind Packing Treble and wasn't good enough. But the main 2 that I want to concentrate on in this race are really Lucky 8, who's got the nice profile. He's had 3 starts for 2 wins. And Enchanting Ibis, I think, is also another one with a really good chance. And this is Enchanting Ibis, who is basically second from the right of screen in the blue and white colours at this point in the race. And he gets up to run second behind Kingland. Once again, I thought this was a good performance. I love the fact that D'Souza sticks with him. He's third up in the race. I think the pace will be okay for him. And he does get back a bit, Shane, but I think he should be nearly ready now.
Oh, I think he can win the 13. Enchanting Ibis, I've got him on top. He'll get back and run on. Bundle of Charm was a little bit disappointing last start, but I want to give it another chance. Nothing really quickened in that race. It was 4th fence, had every hope, but they stayed the same in the straight. It was just like, I think it was Super Fortune and Packing Treadmill, and it was 1, 2, 3 the whole way. So I want to give it another chance because it was impressive last year when it won, but this will be its last chance. And from gate 4 with Zach, it'll get a good run. But Enchanting Ibis, I would have on top.
You're right about what you said about Bundle of Charm. The only concern I had, Shane, that last 50 metres, he was a bit plain that last 50. He wasn't really charging through the line. In fact, he wasn't even really holding his spot. He yielded a fair bit of ground, and Is it something you look at, that last sort of part of the race and how they run through the line?
Yeah, but he still come home and what was
22.94.
I think. Yeah, 22.94. So any horse that runs a 22, they're still battling on, and he's a pretty good horse packing treadmill. So if he was in this, he would go around very short and be winning, you would think, wouldn't you, Clint?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a winnable race. So I just can't give a bundle of charm. I wasn't with him last start. I was disappointed. He's been costly his last two. He's going nowhere near as good as he was last season for mine. And
you know what it could be, Clint? You know how we talked to the handicapper last season or earlier in the season, and we said you put up these horses that look promising too much at times. And a lot of them, well, you get a few of them that just crash and they don't live up to the potential because they've gone up too high and they're not as good as you think they are. This could be one of those, because when he won last year, what did he put him up? 14 points or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he put him up a long way. But look, he's still a young horse and he's with the right stable. He'll have another wave and he'll come back. And it might be on the weekend, but I think from my point of view, I can see what the market will do. We've got Zach Pert and John Size, this kind of horse.
Yeah.
They'll overbet, and I think that provides an opportunity to bet elsewhere. And I think Enchanting Ibis, of course, and Lucky 8 might be that opportunity.
Absolutely love it. What about race number 10 here? So Zach is on Sword Point and Jamie Richards has horse number 14 as well.
That he does, Jamie. Yes, he's got a co-partner Fion who's got to improve a little bit on the figures that I have him. But John Size has got a good chance with Sweet Encounter, of course, who bidding to make it 3 from 3. Got up by a narrow margin last start, but he drops 5 kilos or 11 pounds on that run. So I think the action's down the bottom here. And Stunning Impact, what was that last start? That win was out of nowhere. There was a bit of wind around that day at Sha Tin, and it probably suited those back and wide a bit, or the ones that weren't copying that to win from the side. But gee whiz, Pierre Rim's doing a great job, and this horse up in grade. If he turns up in that sort of form, Stunning Impact, then he's going to be awfully hard to beat again. I think Sweet Encounter's right in the game. He's going to go forward again, and once again, like I said, that weight drop. So the way that I see this race, Shane, I think the two I say lightweights, they're still carrying a bit of weight, but Sweet Encounter and Stunning Impact, they're both last start winners, and I think they might hold sway in this particular event.
Yeah, it's an interesting race. Like Voyage Bubble hasn't done much wrong. It'll come across and lead from gate 14. Got a big weight now. If they go too quick, Santana from gate 13, sitting back, could get home in a race like this. But I think it's a pretty open race, this, Clint. I'm not convinced about this race. This is one race I couldn't really work out yet. I've got to put more work into it. Because, Happy Daily got a beautiful run the other day and won. He'll do that again. Beauty Charge goes all right. He did nothing wrong last season. He'll get back and run on, you'd think.
And what do we do with Sword Point? Zach's right.
Well, he's had the trials, and let me check. His trials have been okay. He could run a race. His form in Aussie was okay. He ran third in the Telex Stakes, which isn't a bad race in Sydney. So he's interesting too. Very hard for those horses to win though, Richo. Horses like that, they don't normally win. Very few do.
Yeah, the market will be telling as it was with Jungle Magnate last week. He was about $5. I couldn't have had him that short, and the market certainly got him a lot more right than I did. But Beauty Charge, you mentioned there, Shane. I just want to show a little bit with this horse because he won at the end of last season. On my ratings, he posted the best single figure of any runner in this race when he won at his second Hong Kong start. He sat back in a really fast run race, and he's got the pedigree to say that they might well be heading, and he's an English, obviously bred in the UK, but he's got this sort of pedigree, 16 to 2,000 metres is going to be his go. I was quite intrigued that Tony Cruz has decided to kick him off here over the 1,400. So the fact that he could win last season over the 1,200, I think bodes well. His late sectionals were excellent. He appreciated the tempo. I'm not sure he gets quite a fast run race on this occasion, Beauty Charge, but he could be something a little bit special too. So as Shane has sort of alluded to, I think most of the action's down the bottom, but it's going to be, I think, Shane, a race where we take a couple and think, well, this could end up being quite a good form reference going forward because there's some nice horses going around here.
With Beauty Charge, Clint, he got gelded in the off-season and he hasn't lost much weight. I think he's 17 pounds less. So his body weight stayed the same, but he got gelded in July. Also, the thing with him, which is different, last year he got back and showed no pace and he ran on. This season, in his 2 trials, he's led and been up there. So I would expect him to race a lot closer. but it's still going to be hard for him over 1,400 first up with the big weight.
HutchiesHonkers.com is the website. Jump on and you'll get the full analysis of Saturday. But give us your best bet. Lead us into something.
The best bet of the day.
And I'm going to ask you, Shane, too, because you've been in great form every time I ask you. You just give us a little a little throwaway, and they land. What are you thinking?
Yeah,
Hutch?
well, look, I think there's a couple of nice runners on the day. I think the best bet will be that horse that we spoke about from Douglas White's yard, actually, that trialled at South Australia before going. And he's in a race where there's a bit of guesswork involved there. Race 3, number 5.
Dragon's Luck.
Dragon's Luck. I think he's going to be one of the main bets on the day. Let's hope we can get a price. I've got one at a good price. I've got a value chance as well that I want to give everyone out.
Please talk to us.
It's in race number 6 on the card. And this is a very even race on my stuff. But if you get an opportunity, go to the Jockey Club website, have a look at number 3, Flying Mojito. He comes out of that stunning Impact race, and he was building into the race quite nicely late when he ran into a dead end and ended up being beaten 5 lengths. But I think with better luck, a nice draw, that race experience, I'm hoping we can get a nice price. So, Shane, I don't know what price you think he'll be. I'm hoping that we'll get double figures, but I don't know. He did start at $56 on debut, but it's an even sort of race. But I thought he could give a good account at a price. But outside of those, Richo, just before we head off, like I said, I think that obviously in the feature event we're going to be with hopefully a two-play strategy in that race, and Circuit Elite, of course,
Circuit Stellar and Beluga.
Sorry. And potentially Beluga or Fantastic Treasure, one of those two.
Okay, so 9 major and then either 4 and 8. RS Dye, the floor is yours.
What Clint said's correct about Flying Mojito, or whatever it's called. It ran well.
Flying Mojito.
And its trial was all right, but that's a very open race. Anything can win that. There's nothing that outstands. Actually, Jai McNeil's got a good ride in that. Addy Full. He's got the blinkers on for the first time. I tipped him last start. I said on the show he'd run well, and he did. He ran 50, got back. So, but anything could run, but I'm not knocking Clint's horse Flying Mojito. It could definitely. What's mine?
Well, just while you think about that, when you're at your bar and your nightclub and you have a few mojitos, you certainly are flying, my friend. So
yes.
it's going to be an easy one for you to remember.
I'm not a real drinker, Richo. You should.
I know, but others there,
I
your
tell you
patrons.
what I do drink. I like a Bailey's on the rocks, and that's about it. I've never had a beer in my life, Richo.
You've never had a beer in your entire life.
No,
that might be what's wrong with him.
Start. Never had a smoke, never had a beer, and I'm not about to start. Anyway, I'll go race 4, Righteous Doctrine. He'll need a bit of luck from gate 1. He'll get back, but he's racing well, and there's that much pace in that race. They're going to go very fast. He'll sit back, and if he can get a right run through them, he should run over top of them, but he doesn't win very often.
Race 4, number 6, Righteous Doctrine.
There you go.
Sort of an idea what sort of price that
he's a back marker. He's going to need a track that you can make ground on, but there's going to be plenty of speed in the race. That is for sure.
There's another one, Richo.
Oh, hang on. Yes.
Race
Talk
1.
to me. Yes.
Number 10, Superb Capitalist.
Yes.
Race
trialled very well.
Race 1, number 10, Superb Capitalist. I hope people are writing these down like I am at the moment.
To the front.
Yeah, he jumped. He won an all-weather trial very impressively. I should say. I had him as a good player in the race, and I think Jamie Richards' horse can run in the Quinella in that race. Actually, I think he's got a good opportunity.
Yeah.
And Multi Super for Ricky Yu is the other one. So that would be race 10. What Shane said, 10, and I think the 9. And the 6 of the Quinella. Now, just before we go,
many winners. I don't want to stop this show because I want the winners to keep going. But of course, HutchiesHonkers.com to see it all.
Yeah, you get on board. The best bets, we've got to keep them rolling. And now, he didn't cut anyone in half on this show, Shane, except for me earlier in the show.
That's right.
Now, I've got something just to add, just as a little parting shot, so we say.
Oh, here we go. Now, you're going to turn Shane's mic off?
To prove you both wrong, I'm just going to reference the steward's report in Hong Kong. This was evidence given by Zach Purton to them.
Zach who?
Zach Purton on Beauty Eternal. And he said he found himself improving inside the heels of Charmander where there was not a full run. They didn't suspend the jockey that allegedly shifted the ground when
hang on, what's that word before run?
There was not a full run.
Yeah, see, Shane and I go for half runs, don't we, Shane?
No, mate.
Hey, I rest my case.
Please. Don't change my mind. I've seen the video.
He looks like a bulldog
if he
chewing a wasp.
didn't lay out around the turn a bit and clip its heels and he got up inside of it, it was. The other horse never drifted back in. it stayed where it was. But Zach thought he was going to come out. Richo, I'm going to teach you a little thing, right? There's two things to racing. Lester Piggott always said, good jockeys don't need instructions.
Yeah.
And bad jockeys can't follow them. Right? That's one. The other thing is what makes great jockeys so good is, like a footballer, they see things that are going to happen before it happens. And you ride to that. And you don't take that initiative away from a great jockey. And that's why Zach went in, because he thought it was coming out. And I'll never take that away from a great jockey.
No, I agree with that point.
Full stop. Full stop. I've seen something that's happening ahead of time, and that's the end of this show. Thank you for watching the Triple Trio. We'll do it all again next week. See you, Hutch.
See you later.
See you, RS. Love your work.
See you, mate.